The views and opinions expressed on From the Mouths of Madness are that of the panel and not of the Geeks Under the Influence Network or their sponsors, Amazon.com and tpublic.com. Listeners, beware. Coming straight from the Mouths of Madness, I am one of the hosts, Lowdown. With me, as always, is
F.U.Hunter. What's up, bitches?
What is going on, everybody? It is April, and everybody knows it is LV 426. It's happening this month, and oh yeah, God, it's just time to just jizz all over sci-fi stuff. I love it. But we are also a horror podcast, so got to kind of have the crossover. So we have
to get our peanut butter and our chocolate, and our peanut butter. Yeah.
We definitely have to have a couple episodes specifically about that subgenre of both genres, because really it's a subgenre that connects both genres. And with us tonight, we thought was a perfect person to have on. Back again, we got Fabian Rush.
Thank you so much for having me. I love being here for all of these. I have so much fun with you guys.
We have fun when you're on. These are our highest ranked episodes.
Oh, really?
The two the Composers of Horror episode and the Torture Porn, where we discuss the film you're in, White Meat, are our first and third highest episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you just made my night. Thank you.
I'm sweating a little bit. I'm like, shit, he's going to make him the co-host and kick me the fuck out. Like, wow, every episode does amazing now.
You know you my boo. No. But the reason he's perfect for this is, your films as a writer and a director and a composer definitely revolve around sci-fi and horror, and they fit in, there's some romance in there. You have like a smorgasbord of the different genres in your films,
Thank you. And the people that you talk about and the different topics on your show are generally the same inspirations I had when I was a kid wanting to become a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. So it's funny because in previous episodes we talked about Clive Barker and just all these different things, and these are all my influences. We talked about Bruce Campbell. He's the reason I act. So
if there is an actor, there you go. Yeah. To pick as an influence, it's fucking Bruce. Because that man. All right. Side note, I'll move on with the intro later. People, hold on. That man's charisma in person, on panels and everything, is fucking brilliant. I love that dude's whole persona. Bruce Campbell's awesome. We're not talking about Bruce Campbell. We are going to be discussing David Cronenberg. Now, I hope people in the horror community know who David Cronenberg is, or at least when we start going through some of his movies, you're like, I do know who Cronenberg is, and I fucking love that movie. It's fucked up. I felt uncomfortable, and that's what his movie should do to you.
Yeah, he's definitely, when you say sci-fi horror, is I feel like one of the first go-to names to go to with that.
That and Stuart Gordon are like my top two when it comes to sci-fi horror.
And Cronenberg is one of the reasons I became a filmmaker. You see, I can pinpoint all of the things I used to fangirl over as a kid. I loved Clive Barker. I loved Bruce Campbell, Cronenberg, specifically Videodrome. That movie made me want to make movies.
And that's fucking awesome. I feel like just from the interviews I've watched with Cronenberg or read that I think is someone coming up to him just saying, "Hey, I love your movies. It's great," and I want to get in a deep dive about his movies. I'm sure he would love to talk art all day and creative processes, but just knowing that he put out into the world something that also made people want to do the same thing and just kind of investigate their own niches in the creative process and the creative world. I think that's probably the greatest thing you could tell any artist.
I kind of put him also with the kind of the David Lynch category, where he's successful, but he's never had to sell out and do like a popcorn movie. He's always kept his style, whatever he's done. He's not like, he's had a few pretty big hits, but he's never changed it. You don't get that, like, did he direct this? Like, you're not David Cronenberg's Die Hard. You're never going to get something like that.
Yeah.
One of the things about David Cronenberg that I think really sets him apart from a lot of other directors, you talk about like get his version of Die Hard or his version of whatever shallow movie. One of the things I appreciate about him is how deeply he thinks about every element of his movie. So it may be this really psychotic, creepy situation that the characters are in, but the characters will say something that really gives you you can really look into and see why they are the way they are, and how they became so warped.
Yes, totally. I mean, and that's amazing storytelling.
Yeah,
it really is. And he does actually go into some of that, like going with what you just said, as far as when he goes into a movie, he has a predetermined story, obviously, and a path. Like he talks about he has certain lenses he likes to use, and he's very particular about camera shots that he's just like, those are his things that he's like focused on. But like he says a lot of time too, he lets the movie tell him what it needs. You know what I mean? Like he lets the story tell him what it needs to be brought to life, kind of thing. And I think that's instead of trying to force and keep it with what you think it should be, as it unfolds, allowing it to flow and just cut it enough to make it to where it's going to be a solid film, especially, during editing and all that. Like, I think that's awesome. He
keeps it very organic.
Yes.
So the movie grows kind of like the tumors on his characters.
Yes. That's crazy. We'll get. I want to circle back to that because that is actually very true with most of his movies. Some little backstory on Cronenberg. He was born in 1943, so yes, he is 78.
Damn.
He's 78.
He gets that senior discount now.
AARP card.
Yeah.
But he was born in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and pretty much, I believe all of his films were shot in Canada.
I didn't know that.
I believe up to a certain point. I can't say that about some of the newer films, once we get into 2000s, but he does state. So when I watched an interview and it was up to Cosmopolis, so that was 2013, and I'm pretty sure he said he only films in Canada.
Okay. So saves on budget.
I think he shoots around Toronto. It's got everything he would need. It's got bustling metropolis, stuff like that, and then it's got tons of countryside. We see in most of his earlier work, there's just country everywhere, or in his newer stuff. So,
plus Canada encourages filmmakers.
That's true.
In which there's, especially probably some of his early works probably had help from the Canadian government, because that's what a lot of the Canadian directors.
What is it, the CDFC? Canadian, CFDC, Canadian Film Distributing Company, I think, is produced.
Yeah, they're just like, here, we really want to encourage you. Here's some money to make your.
Yes, here, make the art, and then and Canada's attached to it too, so it just helps everything.
Unlike here, where it's like, go to Hollywood or kiss my ass.
Exactly, fuck you.
And it's his home. I mean, if you grow up in a certain area and you know your way around, you've got your connections, there's no reason to go to Hollywood if you're David Cronenberg.
Seriously. Well, he tried to, and they were like, I think he was trying to go talk. I think he said he went to talk to Corman's production company, and they didn't. So apparently Shivers was not good enough. But then we've got Galaxy of Terror. That apparently was what I love Galaxy of Terror, but it's like, really, guys, come on, we're splitting hairs here. We're arguing semantics at this point. I mean, was 6 and half a dozen the other. Like,
I don't know that Roger Corman really has the right to turn anyone down. I know. Okay, no, don't get me wrong. I love Roger Corman.
Yeah, no,
I have all of his movies, but I have a thing for bad movies.
Yes,
I love bad movies.
Yes.
They're really entertaining. So. But yeah, he I don't know.
Like, Human Into the Deep is not an amazing movie. It's a fun movie.
Oh yeah,
not an amazing.
There are fun movies.
But Corman does have where he's picked out Dante and I mean, some of these directors that we love a lot of their stuff. Corman did get him. It's just weird that somebody like Cronenberg is like, no, I'm good, and you're like.
But that was Cronenberg's first film, too.
Yeah, but that's still
so you
weird.
Look at it that way too. Like, I guess because it was his first film. I don't know. And Cronenberg doesn't really go into that, but. That's where he was, but someone picked it up, and he even says, like, that would have been it if the Canadian production company and I picked it up, that would have been it. I would have died on the vine.
Oh yeah.
So that definitely gave him his chance, and then gave us all the amazingness that his films bring about.
You mentioned earlier how not everybody might know Cronenberg by name, and if you want to bridge the gap, just so people can go, oh. I was just thinking, I'm a big Rick and Morty fan.
Yes.
And so when Rick and Morty, when Morty says you turn a bunch of people into a bunch of Cronenbergs, then that's a great homage to an amazing director who does body horror. So that's a great introduction to him.
I forgot about that.
So yeah, Rick and Morty is just like, I was watching that. I'm like, yes, thank you for now the writers of Rick and Morty are geniuses, and they know who to give credit to. So they look at intelligent movies from the course of their lifetime, and they want to make it known. So when they reference Cronenberg, they're doing you a favor.
Yes, totally.
And don't you just imagine, because obviously the popularity of Rick and Morty now, there has to be some kids out there like, what do they mean by Cronenberg?
Yeah.
And then they do a deep dive, and you have all these new fans of Cronenberg.
What a
from
present.
literally this random throw out line on and Rick and Morty.
But Rick and Morty does that with a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I really feel like some stuff gets lost in my brain. I'm like, because like every episode usually has at least 2 calls to something.
But it's really cool when something that you obviously have known for a while, and you see something pop culture take off, and then that, like, I mean, I remember I was already a fan of White Zombie. They showed up one time on Beavis and Butthead. Beavis and Butthead was huge at the time, and then everybody's like, fucking White Zombie. I'm like, yeah, they've been around for a little while, and they're like, no, but they're fucking awesome because they're on Beavis and Butthead. I was like, well, they were awesome before that.
Beavis and Butthead didn't make them awesome.
Yeah. And so it's like this weird thing of like, yeah, that was cool. But that's kind of exciting to think that especially on the internet, all they have to type in is, what is a Cronenberg? And pop.
Bam.
The whole thing.
On Rick and Morty, it's all in cartoon form, but to see it in live, actually non-CG, you can play with it and touch it form. That is entirely different. It'll be a nice introduction for any kid that Googles, what is a Cronenberg?
Yeah, oh God. But so he has, we just talked about body horror. He has gained a couple nicknames throughout his career. He is known as the King of Venereal Horror, which
That makes sense.
Also the Baron of Blood. That one, I will say this. His movies actually aren't extremely bloody.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that came from, honestly, because I mean, it's fleshy. I don't know about bloody.
I would agree with you. Honestly, I will say that makes him even better.
Yes.
Because a Baron of Blood, then yes, you can see gushing blood, and it's not really that gross to see blood. Whereas with Cronenberg, when you see something discolored squirt, then that's way worse than blood every time.
Yes, 100%.
I would call him like the Gooey God or something. Like something where like, because like this, like, you think of goo and like the shit falling off of the fly and like and like the and Videodrome, like his fucking stomach vagina and shit like that.
He should be called Creamy Cronenberg.
Creamy Cronenberg. Yes,
cream filling Cronenberg.
We've like turned him into a wrestler where he's like, and now the Gooey God, Creamy Cronenberg.
Stop. Oh shit. Oh, I think that's the episode title, The Gooey God, Creamy Cronenberg. I don't know if you'd appreciate that or not.
I don't know that I've seen a lot of blood in his
there's
stuff.
blood.
Yeah, there's some, but it doesn't compete with many other filmmakers out there.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I would call him a blood god.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dead Alive especially.
Dead Alive was...
Woo.
Honestly, when I think of Cronenberg, I think that there's always one scene in most of his movies where you're going to squirm. Like, I feel like that's his whole thing, is that he wants to have a camera on you. And at some point in each of his movies, you're going to kind of like, oh, fuck, or like that,
100%.
Yeah, there's that 100%. One
either
scene.
Squirm or maybe he'll make you itch a little and check your body and make sure there's nothing growing.
There's not a vagina in the stomach.
What was that? What was that?
I didn't have a vagina here earlier.
So, if you can't tell from our descriptions of the movies we're running through, his movies tend to explore visceral body transformations and infections, technology, and the connection between the physical and the psychological. He definitely explores the body and brain connection, like deep dive, delves hard into that stuff, and that's hard to do, right? I feel like people attempt it. But to accomplish it the way that Cronenberg has, that's a feat. That's a feat.
I imagine he probably looked at himself in the mirror a lot as he was growing and got used to his body, and he would look at things and be like, that makes me uncomfortable. And then he got comfortable putting that on camera for people to see.
Yeah.
He does a lot of examining of the human psyche and how not only like how someone would react to seeing some of the crazy shit he comes up with, but that person, like, whereas in the original Fly, it's the fly is scary, run away from him. In his Fly, it's what's the psyche of your body falling apart,
and how do you come to
how do
terms
you deal with that?
This and at a certain point, you see him. Brundle's just like, I'm turning into a fly. I mean, he's saying it so empty but accepting. You know, like in that scene, Goldblum's performance was amazing. When he's telling to her, he's literally just like, "This is it.
Well, he's
this
just
is
looking
what's
at
happening.
he's
Nothing I
like,
can do about it." Like he could have went and was like, "Man, this fucking sucks." Blah blah. You know, he's just like,
well,
he looks at
now. He looks at like evolution. That's the thing. He's like, "Oh wow, I'm the next evolution." Like, okay,
that happens later on though. He didn't start out like that.
Yeah.
You can say it like an evolution, but when I watch that movie as older now than I was when I was a kid in the 80s, when I watch it now, I think, wow, this movie is also like a reaction to just aging. When you look in yourself in the mirror and then, okay, I admit I haven't pulled teeth out or pulled off a fingernail or anything like that, but like the fear of aging is something I gathered from that movie in terms of psychological stuff.
Well, one of the big things is that movie came out in, what, 86?
86.
Yeah.
86.
Which, one of the big topics on everybody's mind was the AIDS crisis.
Yep. Boom. I was about to go there.
And this movie dealt with it without it ever being actually anywhere in the plot, but what thousands of people were dealing with right at that time, and that thousands of people were fucking ignoring at that time.
Yeah,
so,
and that was pre-cocktail, man. When you got it, you were fucking falling up. You were just falling apart and dying. It was just killing your,
which is
it was
great.
just killing your immune system.
You
were getting sick from everything in the world, and you were just turning into a skeleton and dying. That was now. Luckily, through medication and science, people can live a longer, happy life. But in '86,
yeah,
it wasn't a thing.
And he masked it. He took this Vincent Price, generic horror movie.
Oh, I can make this work with this.
And said, not only am I going to update this, but I'm going to give it a context of what's happening that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
It's fucking brilliant. And that segue into some of his movies. He we kind of talked before the episode, but that was the first Cronenberg film I ever saw, not knowing it was Cronenberg. Like I said, I'm a little bit younger than the other two panelists,
Why do you bring that up every episode?
Yeah, I do. It's fun. Anyway, I was thinking when I saw Jeff Goldblum, I was like, ooh, Jurassic Park. Because I saw it, Jurassic Park was 96. I believe I saw this at my aunt's house when I went to visit them in Delaware in like 97, 98. And I managed to catch it on HBO. And so it was unedited. And I was like, what I thought I was going to get into, because at the time when you're younger, you're like, oh, well, this actor does this style of movie, so you're going to get like, no, holy fuckballs.
What shocked me, now I saw this as a little kid in the 80s, the late 80s. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that shocked me the most as I got older about the movie was, how did Gina Davis date him after that movie? Seeing him in all the costumes, you would just think that she would associate him with all the vomit and the projections from his body. But I thought, wow, she dated him after
only
this.
one projection from his body mattered.
His proboscis.
Terrible. Oh, I had to. I'm sorry.
It's kind of funny that I actually saw this after pretty much her second movie, which is Beetlejuice. So that's going Beetlejuice, then The Fly. Is an interesting transition because, obviously you watch Beetlejuice, you're just like, this is some badass shit. This is pretty hilarious. Like, oh, cool. She's now with this dude that's vomiting on motherfuckers and breaking arms and shit like that. Doesn't have the same tone.
Well, at least they forewarned you with the vomit. They showed you puke on a donut first. I mean, it's not like they didn't tell you this could potentially happen for, down the road. The funny thing
is I can deal with pretty much all the shit falling off and stuff like that. There's one scene, goddamn, I still have to look away.
I know.
What's that? I don't know.
He has a bone body
when he's like,
thing.
hey, let's arm wrestle.
Oh.
And now, every time, it's a trigger for me.
Wait, okay, as right now to this day, I don't arm wrestle people because I saw The Fly as a kid.
Yeah.
It's always been in my mind that can happen, so I don't ever, since I was a kid, like a bunch of macho kids get together around the lunch table, and everybody arm wrestles. It was just cool to do in the 90s, and I've never participated because I always thought my arm might break.
Yeah.
But he has a severe bone breakage thing or bone protruding out thing.
Yeah, it's hard for me.
There's so many movies where I haven't told him and he watches them and then he's mad at me.
Oh, that's just mean.
Hey, dude, it's that's what friends are for.
Oh, my son got a kick out of the most recent Chucky movie that new Child's Play one.
Oh, yeah,
and there's a scene where a character falls off the ladder and breaks both of his legs. And usually people will give me heads up, and he saw it before me, and he literally just watched it with me, and waited for him to fall and then break it, and then looked at me and went, "Oh, did I forget to tell you that was going to happen?"
Hey, hold on.
You
hold
son
on.
of a bitch.
Hold on. He is your son.
That is true. Yes.
He does nothing but fucks with people. So this is
Okay.
just dessert.
That is true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
He,
just
I
desserts.
call him the little fuck. So yeah.
You're the big fuck.
Yeah.
He's a little fuck.
Big fuck, little fuck.
But yeah, he just sat there and watched as this dude fell off the ladder and didn't tell me you might want to watch out. And I watched. Yeah.
And the other thing too with The Fly is that Cronenberg did versus the original was he really brought in the biology of the fly. He got stronger. You're talking about the arm wrestling. He got stronger. He wanted to fuck all the time. Fly's instinct is their lifespan so short they want to mate, breed. So he's fucking all the time. His sex drive is insane. I think one scene he was like, that was 4 times. He's like, I can go again. Like, but I mean, you didn't get that with the original one. So you really bring in the science behind the anatomy of a fly in that, and that was amazing to actually see.
I'm right there with you. You know, it's great to compare his version of The Fly to the original. And it's so important because when you see how he took it and completely made it his own, it's shocking because the original was rated G.
Yeah.
And the guy has a fly head, which it means nothing. When I said earlier how impressed I was at how deeply Cronenberg thinks about his movies, you hear at the beginning of the movie, Jeff Goldblum's character, whose name escapes me at the moment, his character says, yeah, well, he developed a teleportation device specifically because he had motion sickness as a kid.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to get it. He threw up on his tricycle, he said. So he goes, well, he obviously doesn't want to get in a car and he doesn't want to have motion sickness. So he wants to build teleportation. What? So every little element, all the backstory and the reason people do what they're going to do in the movie, it's all justified in such simple little lines. He gets motion sickness, so he wants to be able to teleport. And then you see the fly get in there with him, and the whole accident happens. And then the way his body changes, it's scientifically 100% believable.
Yes.
That if
Yeah.
you were slowly going to turn into a fly, it would exactly be the way it was for him. And that's so scary about it.
Yeah.
There was never a time that I didn't believe what was happening in that movie. I mean, now I don't know that he would climb, that a real person would be able to climb on the ceiling and the walls that easily, but still, it was very believable.
Well, and that's the thing with Cronenberg, you almost believe it. This way he does it, where the science in it is believable. It's not like, and then whammy zammy, he's a fly. Like he all the stuff that his transformation is slow. It's not immediate. It's almost like a scientific study you're watching on film.
And agreed. And that actually leads into another film that it was an earlier film. Now, again, it had parts that were clearly not believable, but the movie explains that as well because there were hallucinations. But I can completely see fucking an organization trying to take over using platforms that people use daily, kind of like we do with smartphones and other stuff. Anyway, but 83's Videodrome. Like that.
Yep.
The whole time I'm watching that movie, I'm like, when I was younger and first saw it, I really loved the movie, but I didn't fully grasp it until probably mid 20s. And then I'm like, oh, all the stuff that I didn't see make happen was he was hallucinating. And now you're like, well, fuck. Okay, that makes sense. Like controlling, doing it in small doses of experiments with individual people before you release it to the masses it was basically all a Videodrome was. And fucking brilliant.
Videodrome was brilliant. You look at that film, and that is what has happened in society today.
That's
for
right,
real.
yeah, exactly.
So now, of course, it's hard to look into the future and make your movie based on what the future is actually going to hold. But Videodrome, when Dr. Oblivion says, the television has become the retina of the mind's eye. That's my favorite line in the whole movie. It's absolutely true. It's brilliant. It's what cell phones have done to people now.
It's a screen.
Exactly.
Really, it's a screen.
It's just a screen. If you remove the word television, replace it with screens in general. We live the reality that we're getting from our cell phones and smart devices and all this stuff. It is more real to us than the world around us. That is exactly
people,
what he was saying.
Yes.
Yeah, to certain people. So,
Yes.
but there's a lot of people.
Oh, God.
So it's incredible. That movie was genius.
For 83, I mean, it's almost 30 years old.
Oh yeah, and if you're
40, excuse me.
if you're not sure, turn off your phone, don't look at your phone for 2 days, and you're lost.
Yeah.
And that's how,
No.
to a point.
Well,
Not
okay.
everyone.
But I'm just saying,
I'm lost.
The
I'm
majority,
lost
the
to
majority.
stuff that I use it for functioning, but I don't. Aside from this stuff, I don't do social media.
Well,
Right.
people like us.
But I'm not even talking about
control-
social media. I'm just talking about your day to day that you've just become accustomed to.
I got you, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, what's the weather going to be like?
Yep.
Well,
fair
now,
enough.
see,
Fair enough.
Simple stuff like that.
Fair
I'm
enough.
not saying like what's everybody doing this weekend. I'm talking about just your basic stuff. And again, like this movie says, like, you know, before you know it, we're just kind of everything. We're everywhere. Our phones are that.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, and he's basically making a movie that, unbeknownst to him, is setting up for the future. Like I feel like he maybe knew something was going to come. Not saying it was going to be the internet or like, you're right. No one could fucking foresee that. But this movie definitely foreshadowed that something was going to come in the future and not be good for mankind. And that's kind of
the mentality
at.
that James Woods' character finds this is that he's looking to push the envelope. Like
Yes.
his whole thing is like getting people sucked in that might not be interested in watching this, is find the most extreme shit possible, which I feel like we're at now at this point.
Yes, and on top of that, Deborah Harry was in that, so that
Yes.
was my initial attention getter for that movie.
Uh-huh.
But then the reason I'm a fan is Dr. Oblivion.
Yes.
the philosophies behind that movie were next level. Like, how
Agreed.
do you really have to know psychology, the psychology of humans in general, to really be able to write something like that and know what's coming and what people are susceptible to.
Yep.
And I love about with Videodrome especially is that it's a slow burn of bringing in the hallucinations, the TV, you know, him putting his head in the TV. Then all of a sudden he's got a, you know, stomach that can now
Vagina.
absorb tapes.
Dude, but the movie gets so fleshy. They
It-
make
it
a
just-
television, not him absorbing into the screen, but they make the entire box this breathing,
Oh, yeah.
fleshy thing.
But he doesn't hit you over the head automatically where it's like, now all this shit's crazy.
It builds
It's
up.
slowly. Like he kind
And
of does a double take on a lot of stuff.
This was the big movie for me that I wanted to tie into what Fabian said earlier, where it's like his movies grow like a tumor. Where like
Yeah.
when you start out in Videodrome, it's like borderline smut. Like he's trying to find just the darkest side of sexual desire to put on his show. I mean, his network is he owns a TV network, Civic TV, Channel 83, and then you know he meets Deborah Harry, and we get a little nipple shot of her, which was always Blondie. For those who don't know, Deborah Harry was the lead singer songwriter of the powerhouse band Blondie.
Call me.
Really? Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm serious. Like, hey, call me. But I mean, but she actually was perfect for this role because the way that character needed to be, the breathy voice, all that was just brilliant.
And Deborah Harry was, she's perfect for it, because you look at the stuff she was doing, you hear her music, like Call Me was cute, and all of her music was really cute, but then you look at the stuff she was doing that outside of Blondie. So here she is modeling and working with H.R. Giger.
Yes. Yep.
And doing Cronenberg movies, and like, I would have loved to have known her.
Yeah.
She's somebody I would have hung out with back then. Now, I'd still hang out with her now.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there in case she's listening.
Tag her on Twitter.
Just saying, Blondie. Just call me.
Because I hadn't really seen her in that many things. I mean, honestly, before I watched Videodrome, I'll be honest, I just watched this year. The only thing I really remember seeing her in besides being a Blondie was Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah. She was in that.
But
yeah.
But that was about it until I saw this movie. I was like, oh shit, I need to find
And
more
she was
movies
in
of hers.
one of her music videos with H.R. Giger. When I saw, I'm a huge Giger fan, and that was of course because of Alien.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Blondie got tied into all that, she went on my young kid Spank Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing her in the Giger outfit, that just did it all for me. But we digress.
Yes. We could go on a whole tangent about that. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but yeah, so we see that she's into pain to pleasure thing, and like at that point, it's just like, okay, well, maybe we're just going to see like these two people and how they're going to deal with that. That movie, and it's not a hard turn. Like before you know it, you didn't like how the fuck did I get here? Like seriously, at a certain point, like how the fuck did I get here?
But it's a small hint.
Small steps.
When
it's
she's
so good storytelling.
when
of
she's
just like
trying to like her and James Woods are fucking around. She's like, "How about you just kind of choke me a little bit?" And it's just that small introduction, and then it just builds up where it's like
he's just traveling, trying to find these people and trying to find like. And then next, he's wearing a fucking hat that they're recording his hallucinations. And I mean,
which he's fine with.
I was like, how the fuck did I get here?
What I love about Cronenberg movies is it's kind of like a first date. Like when you're watching his movie, and it's a first date that goes wrong every time. So I would describe it as basically, if I were the date of Cronenberg, the movie usually starts off with little yeses, little okays. Like first he puts his hand on your shoulder, and that's okay, you're with it. Then he puts it on your knee, and you're with it. His hand starts working its way up your thigh, and then you're starting to get uncomfortable, but is it weird now because I've been on this date this whole time? So his movies is basically, you follow along with his movies, and he's touching you okay the whole time until it gets to a point where you're like, how do we get here? What is your finger doing up my nose? And you're like, it makes you ask
or
questions.
then he's penetrating your stomach vagina.
Yes, he's penetrating your stomach.
Before you know it, you're like, why is your fist on my stomach vagina? Why do I have a stomach vagina?
He's penetrating parts of you that didn't have holes before.
And now there are holes.
Yeah. And something other than blood is oozing out. That's what happens in all of his movies. It's a bunch of little okay things, and then next thing you know, you're really uncomfortable.
And one thing I will say through Cronenberg is he is the first director, and I honestly don't know if I can name one right now that is similar in this, but that his movies literally end on the climax.
Yeah.
Every one of them. I mean, and when I say climax, I mean, there might be like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes after the actual climax, but most movies have a resolution. He ends on the denouement.
Yeah, exactly. Like The Fly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give away the ending for anybody who hasn't seen it. But at the end of The Fly, the movie ends right when you're pretty much saying, okay, I don't think I can take anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when it's over.
Maybe that's why though, because he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's putting the viewer through. He knows what he's creating.
Yeah. And then you just can't, it would be wrong to take it any further.
Yes.
Like he's taken it as far as it should go for a movie's sake. Cut it off there so audience members can talk about it and take a shower later.
Take a shower.
I think the movie's old enough, by the way. I don't think we need to worry about spoiling it.
This is for the kids.
Yeah, dude. No, Cronenberg movies do not need to be spoiled. I'm sorry. Like,
this is for the Rick and Morty kids. We want to hold off.
The Rick and Morty kids.
No, like I'm with you on most things, but when it comes to as a director at the caliber of Cronenberg, like no, I'm not spoiling.
That's true. I just said how I just saw Videodrome for the first time this year.
Exactly.
So yeah, I guess
would you have had that spoiled for you?
I don't know if you could spoil that movie.
Well, okay, you know what? Actually,
how do you spoil that movie?
That's a good point. It's difficult to spoil certain things. The thing about Cronenberg movies, because of the ride he takes you on, I guess technically, no, I don't want to, but you can technically tell somebody what his movie's about and not ruin it in any way, because watching it is a totally different experience.
That's true.
It's like Bubba Hotep.
Yeah.
If you tell somebody what Bubba Hotep is like, they'd be like, why would I want to watch that? And then you watch it, I'm like, holy shit, that was one of the best things I've ever seen.
Truth.
Or there's times where I like to fuck with my friends and I'll make up how movies end and shit like that.
Here's the asshole.
And you could take the Cronenberg movies and you could tell them the actual truth. They're like, oh, really? Stomach vagina and then cancer bullets? Okay. And really? And like, no, it's seriously how it happens. But like for me, they would think I'm probably just fucking with them, you know?
No,
like,
exactly. They would be like,
yeah, of course, yeah, gun in his hand, okay, like.
I forgot how hardcore I wanted that tattoo. No, so I had a tattoo idea where I wanted the tattoo when it first happens, when he's in the hallway after he gets fed the first cassette against his will. He basically gets raped with the cassette. I mean, essentially.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He tries to get raped the second time, but then he got something for the ass, though. He's got that rape thing where it's like grabs a dick and it has to rip it out kind of thing going on. Yeah. I like it. It's awesome.
Yeah. I will admit that Cronenberg movies, they never have that don't try this at home aspect, because I never tried to shove a VHS tape into my ass.
Or a gun for that matter.
Anything. No. Like, I never tried anything I ever saw in any of his movies.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. But I wanted the image of the gun with the cyborg cords coming out, and then have it cut off about right here where you see that it's implanted into his wrists. I just thought, and then like I'm not big on like the old school classic tattoo style. So but I want to find I wanted an artist that could adjust that and still have a banner that says "Long Live the New Flesh" on it. Like I fucking all right. I was gonna wait to say this later because we would do a roundtable. We can kind of go through it as it's being talked about. Of his original sci-fi horror movies, Videodrome is my shit. That is my fucking Cronenberg movie. As much as I love The Fly, the Videodrome, I mean, I remember a point I watched that movie like so much at one point. It was unhealthy. How much I've watched that movie.
Yeah, you had to learn. You watch those movies to learn. You watch them over and over again to pick up more stuff. And I don't let them compete. Like I won't say Videodrome is competing with The Fly because they're dating. In my book. So I'll watch them back to back.
I think the one edge I'll give to The Fly, and it's because it asked for this, is Howard Shore's score is so like it's like this huge like epic. Like I always compare his score to the score in The Thing that Carpenter had used. It controls the tempo and the feel of the movie.
It does.
And where Videodrome, and it's the way the movie is, the score is very quiet, very slow. And so for me, like just my own taste, I would go with The Fly just because that score honestly is that final piece that puts it for me.
That score, for me, having watched the movie, that score is kind of like an ugly cry. Like when you listen into it, that dun, 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 dun,
so dramatic.
It's really dramatic. But with what's happening on the screen, as you're watching the movie, the score gives me the feeling of, wow, Gina Davis's character is helping a friend through some kind of a like almost like it's like he's on drugs.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like a Dare movie. Remember the Dare program?
Yeah, the Dare.
So the movie, it's like she is trying to help
Nancy
a friend.
Reagan shit?
Yeah.
Yes. But the score gives me the feeling of this is about a woman trying to help her friend through a drug addiction, and it's going horribly wrong. That's what the score screams. Yeah.
Well, because I mean, all those things we talked about with The Fly, as far as the AIDS virus was rampant and new in the 80s. We talked about signs of aging, also just disease and drug addiction. Drug addiction's a disease. Like it definitely, and what got big in the 80s. I mean, crack came out in the early 80s, and then heroin started hitting more of the streets. You didn't have to be rich to be on heroin. Addiction was starting to run rampant in the 80s as well. Like in more mainstream, like talking suburban motherfuckers were getting addicted
which
to
is
drugs
kind of
now,
his addiction. His crack is teleporting, where he's just come on, baby, I just need one more teleportation today. Shit. Oh shit, you got more than pods, baby. Yeah, like
I never thought of it that way.
He's because at some point she's like, didn't you just do that this morning? He's like, I just needed a little more, just a little boost, baby. That's all I needed. Yeah.
Hey, baby, what if you and me were in the same fucking body?
You gotta look at that power bill, and it went the usage went like up a little bit to like skyrocketing every day because he's just I just need another fix, another little teleport, all right, just to the other side of the room. That's all. Just move to the kitchen, all right? That's all I need, baby. Come on.
Teleport to where I could get a beer.
Yeah. Just give me something, all right? Just want to teleport. I ain't walking.
But I do want to I want to wrap up Videodrome and move on to something else through the score. But there is one thing that Videodrome has that The Fly didn't have as far as for the ambience of the movie, and you could call it part of the score. In order to enhance what was happening in Videodrome, what you get outside of just the music is you get a lot of breathy and like not so much fleshy, but like pulsing, squirty sounds. And that takes place of where you potentially could have had more actual music like you would in his other films. Like, you just hear like
it's
this
a quiet, and
just like this pulse. It's supposed to be that movie's very erotic. There's a fucking handgun that that gets pushed out of a TV screen in the end when he goes to kill the daughter, and if you pay attention, when it goes to shoot, it literally looks like a penis shooting jizz.
Wow.
I mean,
that's very Guar.
There's a whole, right. But no, if you look, there's like, so it broke through the TV screen just enough so when you look dead on, they give you a dead on shot. It looks like balls. There's a hole, and then it looks like round flesh with a tip.
Yeah. I mean, it's just go back and rewatch that.
I mean, but again, Geiger too. I mean, Cronenberg he loves art. He always goes. He talks about going to galleries all the time. Back to the soundtrack thing. The breathiness and the pulsing and all that is definitely taking place where we could have more music in that movie. Now, a movie where the score that I think competes with The Fly, as far as the how it makes the fucking movie, and it is just as grand as Scanners. The score in fucking Scanners kicks ass, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, the best thing about that score is that literally it's like almost sometimes over the top, but then it's like, shh, quiet, some shit's about to fucking happen. And it's like the score quiets down before some fucked up shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And that's what I love about that movie. It's just like booming. Wait. Some shit's about to happen. And that movie, goddamn Michael Ironside.
Dude.
That's his fucking movie, all
So
right?
what they were teasing you for throughout the whole movie is for that final scene, brother against brother, and you're like, oh, and because I remember physically rewatching that a few weeks ago, and I'm like, I didn't do it the entire movie, but at that point I was like, turn down a minute. I think the kid's trying to sleep. Like, I mean, it's so fucking loud and just. But it's brilliant because it just makes that scene so important. Like, it is an important scene, but Shore's score just drives that home, man. Like, it's like a nail, just hammering you over the head with it in a very, very important, good way.
Yes, and it's so important with anything movie related or art related. It's always important to just do the opposite. Something like where the music drops out when something big's about to happen. That's the opposite of what happens in every other horror movie you've ever seen.
Truth.
And if there was any legitimacy to calling him the Baron of Blood?
That would be the movie.
That would be the movie because probably of his movies, the most iconic, like 10 seconds of any of his movies, in my opinion, is the head exploding scene.
The first scene with Michael Ironside is amazing.
But that's what I'm saying is that scene of the dude's head exploding, that's when you say Cronenberg, that's almost the first quick go-to scene of his. If you want to kind of explain quick Cronenberg, is that go. All right. Oh, you want to here? Watch Michael Ironside make this dude's head literally fucking explode. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually, before we move on, after watching Scanners, who wanted to have that power? Just show of hands.
Oh, someone cuts you off and flicks you off. You're just like, hold on a second. All right, okay, cool. I'll pass you now.
Well, I mean, it was more just like, I don't know. It was something because it wasn't just about making their head explode. It was like they had the ability to kind of also know what they were thinking.
Yeah.
And just that was I thought what was awesome.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, we also got kind of that on steroids with the last season of The Boys, where it's not just like one person you concentrate really hard, but it's just like pop, 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 pop. So
now, before we move from Scanners, I do want to say, like, I know we were talking about we don't want to spoil it for people that haven't watched it or the younger generation. Me talking about the ending actually did not spoil it because, in true Cronenberg fashion, that was not the final thing. So, yeah, because there's that final scene where you're like, oh. Because the way they, Anyway, Scanners is another great fucking film. I fucking love that movie too. It's
I always kind of give everybody a heads up with Scanners, where it's very slow pacing.
It's not very slow.
Well, I just think
for today's.
For today's,
yes, it was 81.
But it's one of those. The pacing's a little slow, but it builds up enough. But some people you have to give a heads up because they'll watch the first 20 minutes, be like, nothing's happened. I'm turning it off. You're like, just fucking wait.
You know, that's gonna go back to Videodrome with the current screen thing and how everyone's fucking ADD now because they can't fucking sit down and actually let something breathe for a second before it goes crazy. It's got to be crazy right off the bat, and that annoys the shit out of me.
Yeah,
it really does.
And that's MTV had something to do with that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a lot. That's a big thing with Cronenberg movies, not just a sci-fi horror, just movies in general.
The board.
Is he goes, all right, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna tell you a story. No bathroom breaks. You just sit here as I build up the story, and then it's gonna have some payoffs. But you gotta wait. Patience. And that's throughout all his movies. Just kids, calm down. All right, like, put your phones down.
It's the kind of payoff where it's like, you know what? You're not gonna get this from any other kind of movie. There are no other movies. Yes, you can watch an action movie. You can watch any Michael Bay thing, and you'll get action every 2 seconds
and slow running titties.
Exactly. You're gonna get that with that. But if you really want something horrifying and you want to have an experience that's a little different, just sit through the freaking movie. Just sit through the whole thing. It's a slow burn, but nothing coming out today is going to do to you what a Cronenberg movie is going to do. That's
No.
why Rick and Morty says, "Oh, these people are all Cronenberg." It's because it's a one of a kind of experience.
Exactly, and you're 100% right. No, you're not going to watch a film that's going to do anything to you that you would get from a Cronenberg film. Like
And I would direct people that are fans of Tarantino, because Tarantino does the same thing. He doesn't hit you over the head immediately. It's dialogue, build up a story, and then, best example, last movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Anybody's seen it? It's pretty slow till the last 20 minutes. It goes crazy. And Cronenberg follows that same line of like, let's figure out the characters, let's establish it, show you some weird shit, and then go from there.
Yeah, and agreed. And the reason I think I say like it's not that slow, because if you kind of go back, we've kind of been going backwards in his specific sci-fi horror realm. So if you go back from 81 Scanners to 79's The Brood, that one is a slow burn, as well as 77's Rabid. Now, both of them are kind of the same pace, but they're slower than Scanners, because you don't get the big head explosion early on. It's like, even though Scanners are slow, you get the dude at the beginning at the mall scanning somebody and fucking with their brain, and you're like, what the fuck is he doing to him? And then he gets chased, and then you get to there is stuff happening. Like, there's a mall scene, scans a chick who's talking shit about him, gets drugged, gets taken in, Michael Ironside blows someone's head up, and then he gets chased, and there's a car explosions and shit, and all that happens in like the first 15 minutes, so that is technically slow. But when you get to The Brood, I mean, The Brood is a very, very slow movie, but it is so worth it.
Yeah.
It is so worth it.
Well, I was going to say, with those first two, that period in the 70s, the late 70s, it kind of fits into it, because that's where you have The Omen, you have The Exorcist, these kind of slow pace build up style movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Changeling is like 80 or something like that, but somewhere in that where it's not just over like start up, it's this build up, and honestly, some of them with kids, stuff like that, where you almost deal with that way of like, let's make it creepy, not fucking like horror style just yet.
And then also include growths and tumors.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about the older movies, Shivers. I want to bring up Shivers because that was another one of those that really shows how much he thinks about stuff that in your mind you think that could work. Because the whole concept, and correct me if I was wrong, but what I took from it was that you can genetically modify these parasites to become replacement organs, so that your body won't reject them, and your body, like how your body doesn't really reject parasites exactly. So I'm listening to the explanation in the movie, and I'm thinking, wow, scientifically that makes sense. He knows about organ rejection, so why not change parasites into something you could use? That's been a concept in recent movies that are based on genetic stuff. You look at I Am Legend and stuff where they change viruses. Well, look, Cronenberg did that long ago with Shivers. So yeah, I could see having a parasite that helps asthma.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It just makes sense. And then of course it is a bad idea.
Yeah. Well then, so as a common theme through most Cronenberg films, and I'm not just going to say early, but most Cronenberg films, there's a heightened sexual overtone to his films. And in Shivers, there's like this sex crazed crowd towards the end, and then like obviously we talked about all the phallic things in Videodrome, and then the stomach vagina. Scanners wasn't that sexual, except for the only really thing that gave that off was when he went to the artist's house. Yeah. There's some shit in there, but The Brood, I don't really feel like there's that much there. Rabid has some.
Depends on what turns you on.
Yeah, getting stabbed by a chick's armpit thing. Apparently, what a weird place, dude. I want to talk to him. And ask, what made you think of the armpit?
Because it's never been done. It's never been done. If you want the easy answer, it's never been done.
I love Rabid. Yeah, I do. Like, it's a very good. Actually, I think Rabid, 1977's Rabid, speaks volumes to today's current situation, what we're dealing with for the last year and a half. A little over a year, and not in the terms of the fact it's a pandemic, but in terms of people's reactions and how they're handling it. because people, these people are basically rabid. Like whatever she's doing when she drinks their blood, she's infecting them and turning them like someone who's like the next level rabies on steroids, and they're just losing their fucking minds. You look at what's going on. People are like just fucking yelling at perfect strangers and fucking calling them everything but a good person.
Yeah.
I mean, I just see a similarity within that, and it's crazy. Like, when I first saw this movie, I would have never thought in a million years I would have seen anything in reality that mimicked that outside of someone being driven by a pathogen to be crazy.
Well, I mean, can we just say this past year? I mean, it's something
yeah.
that we never thought we'd actually experience. I mean, like, at first, like, ooh, like, I guess maybe, keep an eye on for, people coughing around you. I never thought we're in, like, it's kind of funny. You look at all those sci-fi, futuristic movies, and we're like, oh, man, I don't remember this being in any of the ones I liked. I mean, fuck.
This is...
Ooh, shut down, stay in my house all the time? Fuck yeah, that's an awesome movie.
Yeah, but then you're like, oh... Can we have that instead, please?
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, you're like, I'd rather have this.
Oh yeah. Which diseases are better than what we've got going on right now? Which pandemics, which alien invasions are preferable?
But I mean, dude, like, but it was crazy because I rewatched Rabid, and for those who have seen it or they want to see it or they don't own a copy, the it was like 3 years ago, Scream Factory release of it is pretty awesome. They do a really good restoration of it. It looks really good. I rewatched that about a week and a half ago, and it really just hit me like, wow, like now like there's this person that has no control technically over it, spreading this disease and not knowing it until towards the end, and then you get the people that are infected and what society's like. It's the society thing. Like you start seeing it go across news, and the doctors are speaking on the news like, well, I mean, you need to if you do get bit by this person, you need to go seek medical profession. If you see somebody doing this, you need to stay away from them. Like,
be honest.
But it's just it was really like it was just like jarring, but not in a way that I would get from a Cronenberg movie, because it just mirrored things, I guess. Yeah. It's very jarring. Yeah. That's all.
I know one movie that, we were going through the list before we start recording. I would still put in the sci-fi horror kind of for Cronenberg is Dead Zone. So I know this is debatable.
No.
Yeah.
It's fine. I want to make a quick note before we actually dive into that. So 1979's The Brood is when he started his partnership with Howard Shore. The two movies before that, I don't know who did the scores for him, Rabid and Shivers, but 79 The Brood is when he started his collaborations with Howard Shore, except for, and this is the only film, 1983's Dead Zone, which was actually Michael Kamen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's weird because I would have thought that was Shore's
question.
Sorry.
Whoops. But I just...
It's not. It's not.
Okay.
That could have been. I didn't. That's actually not one of them.
Oh, okay.
It definitely, for Cronenberg's movies, it doesn't lean too heavy on the horror aspect.
Well, it's based off a Stephen King book, so he's got to go off the source material a little bit.
Yeah.
But he goes heavy off source material.
But that's the thing. It's the sci-fi element, I think, is very, very strong there with, obviously, he goes through an accident. Now he's able to kind of predict what's going on to stop a serial killer and some crazy-ass Martin Sheen, president. Like, so there's elements there that, hit that sci-fi, small bits of horror, but not like over.
And I think the small bits of horror is what makes it more of a thriller.
Yeah.
Because thrillers, a true thriller does have like scary elements where you're putting the viewer through a heightened state. They're going to get anxious. Like a thriller makes you anxious.
I think it's Cronenberg's tone that makes it feel like it's in that horror level because, I mean, it has a very much the same tone. I mean, it's right after Scanners and stuff like that, but it has that tone. I feel like it feels like a horror movie, even though it's not.
Now, I being both a huge Cronenberg fan and a giant fucking Stephen King fan, I fucking love The Dead Zone. Like, I when I say this, like, it's strictly about categorization because I fucking love that movie. I watch that at least once a year. Sometimes twice. I'll just be zooming through. I'm like, oh, I'll watch this. Like, there's not a bad scene in that movie to me. Like, I fucking love that movie.
Walken does such an amazing job. Walken is just this tortured motherfucker who like survives this accident, and his like gift is like, hey, good, yeah, your whole world's fucking turned around, and now like you're traumatized whenever you're around people.
And to see him do this before he was walking, you know, like you're seeing him
pre A View to a Kill, blonde hair Bond villain walking. Yes, that's the way I can put it.
Yeah, seriously.
Before it's like time to overact.
Yeah, he was just. I feel like he was giving one of the least expected portrayals of a character.
You feel sorry.
I feel like at a certain point you're expected people expected a certain thing when they saw Walken. He definitely got typecast, no matter what role it was. It could be a rom-com, and he was expected to be. I mean, his cameos, like you talk about in Joe Dirt, like he was in fucking King of New York. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like
True Romance.
He got
Yeah.
He got put in this thing. So when you saw he was in a movie, you expected this Christopher Walken.
You expected to see cowbell.
Yeah.
But when you go back and watch Dead Zone, you don't get that. Yeah. You're not getting any of that.
His character's a lot like the character in Scanners, where it's like he has his ability, but like he'd rather not. Like
exactly.
It's one of those where like
it's a curse, not a blessing, people. Yeah.
Sorry, I've gotten quiet during Dead Zone. Sadly, that's one of the ones I have not seen.
Oh.
I am really now. You see, now I'm really sold on it, and there's a part of my heart that's hurting right now because I'm like, Fabian, why haven't you seen this? Like, what have you done wrong in life?
And you will see Walken with a haircut you have never seen with him before in the first part of the movie.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You'll never see him.
That throws me off.
He looks like a fucking little schoolboy, dude. It's crazy.
Oh, okay, all right. I need to see this.
I mean, it's 80. It was 83. What else did Walken? You know, that was like the beginning of his career. So you're just getting really early Walken, showing he had chops back then, kind of thing.
He had like Annie Hall and Deer Hunter and stuff like that, and these big.
Well, this was his first. Deer Hunter.
This was his first kind of like starring hit role for him.
He was the lead.
Yeah,
I was kind of scared of Walken as a kid because he did Communion. That movie scared the crap out of me as a kid. Watch it recently. It's cute and kind of funny now, but yeah.
So, kind of coming towards the end of this, we definitely did cover all of his sci-fi horror. There are definitely films of note. I will let my co-host and the panelists kind of run through what some of their favorite stuff is that, you know, other things they've seen outside of that.
I mean, it's so far away from what we're talking about.
Oh, I know where you're going.
But fucking History of Violence.
Oh, dude, yeah. Well, I'm surprised. I thought you were going to say Eastern Promises because I know you really dig that one too. But I love History of Violence so much.
History of Violence is based on a comic book.
Yes.
And it's weird that the one thing Cronenberg left out would have been the most Cronenberg of the comic book, which is they go into anybody's watched.
He wasn't the writer. He just directed.
That's what
he wasn't a writer
that's
on
what,
that.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that the actual comic, you know, you find out this dude worked for the mob, he left the mob, and then gets discovered, okay? His partner, because his guy that worked with him got captured, and they never bring that up really in the movie, but in the comic, he got captured. They literally cut off his arms and his legs, and they feed this guy for like 15 years, like defiantly keeping this guy alive.
Holy no! So I know why they did that. This was supposed to be a commercial movie.
Yeah,
they could not have that in.
But you see what I'm saying?
A commercial movie
in the comic. That part of it
at that time
is well. I'm just saying is a very. And we're not talking about the main character, but his partner, the mob has been keeping for like old boy style, like 10, 15 years, unable to escape, obviously, and just pretty much like just feeding him and keeping him from dying.
Is what the song one is about, except mafia, not war.
Yeah,
basically,
pretty much. Yeah,
I have no limbs. I am just a brain, and I'm alive.
But besides that, the acting, everything is so fucking good with History of Violence.
Because think about it, that movie was still hardcore by like consumer standards with just 2 really hardcore scenes.
Yeah,
and that's all you get, which is nothing for Cronenberg. But again.
He gets the best out of his talent.
Funny thing is, after 99's existence, he was not the writer for any of the movies he did until Cosmopolis. So he was just a director. But I think if he were to write based off of the comic, he probably would have kept that in there.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
someone came to him with a screenplay, and he's like, "Sure, I'll tackle this."
Do you know how shocking that is to watch the movie first and then read the comic and know this Cronenberg and read the comic and go, "Wow. How did he not put that in there?"
Producers have some say, and they make things happen. Yeah.
Not for the good all the time, but they make things happen.
They make things happen that they think is the best for the for the viewers, I suppose, which doesn't always make sense. But I'd say we talked about all of my favorite Cronenberg movies, but what we haven't touched on too much is the movies he's acted in. The first time I ever saw him was in Nightbreed.
Yes.
He horrified me. His eyes are so blue.
Yes.
They're really blue. And he's just like, he's an amazing, well, okay, I won't say he's an amazing actor in that he's blown me away and deserves this particular award.
He's a good
But I
psychopath.
will say that when for the characters he plays, he's always really soft spoken and he's really it's weird. He's weird. You know what? His acting style is like his movie style. It's kind of like he's touching you all the time.
And you know what's crazy is that is just his style. Like multiple interviews I've watched, like I was watching one interview and he was just talking, answering the questions, and it was a good interview because the interviewer asked the question and shut the fuck up and let him talk for 15 minutes at a time sometimes. And he sounded just like freaking character from Nightbreed.
Yeah.
Like that is him. Like he is just, I mean, he would get animated, so, when he thought something was funny or whatever, he was trying to make a point, but his general tone, like if he were on he's quiet. Like his voice is soft, but like deep. He actually has a very deep voice. So maybe I think he lightened it up a bit, or it got deeper with age.
His voice is soft, but his face is extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his blue eyes has not changed with age, by the way.
Yeah,
because this one interview, they do a couple close-ups, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
That is so blue.
They're so alive.
One of my favorite acting cameos he did, it's this movie called To Die For. Nicole Kidman, where she sets up early Joaquin Phoenix and Casey Affleck, who are students, to kill her husband. And obviously, everything comes back. At the very end, she always wants to be this Hollywood star, this star reporter. And so she meets with this guy from Hollywood out on this farm with the frozen lake out in the middle of nowhere. And it's goddamn David Cronenberg. And you knew the minute Cronenberg was on there, you already had a feeling, but you're like,
he was riding a bike, right? Wasn't it like a motorcycle or some shit?
No. He meets her at the farm, and he's like, oh, yeah, I want to go over your stuff. And it's probably not good. And it then goes to black, and you hear her scream. But you already kind of knew the minute you see him, she's probably fucked. He has
that look.
But he's charming as shit. At first, he's like, hey, how's it going?
Well,
but us as an audience are like, wait a second, is that fucking Cronenberg?
Serial killers are always charming, and Cronenberg's charming.
Kind of like when you watch No Country for Old Men, where literally, Bardem can take his fucking thing and just put it up on somebody's forehead and just shoot, and they just let him do that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he seems like a oh, no, I'm fucking dead.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah. And To Die For had a great soundtrack, too. That's another one while we're talking about those.
Yeah. No, it did.
Is that Danny Elfman? I feel like that was Danny Elfman.
Was it Danny Elfman?
I believe so, because that's Gus Van Sant that directed that, I believe.
Yeah. I knew he's like on the the new season of Star Trek Discovery.
I haven't watched that.
I haven't watched that either. I know he did. He was in some of his movies. He was the gynecologist in the Fly dream sequence. He was one of the people in the sex horde in Shivers. And he
well, as the director, wouldn't you put yourself in that scene?
All right, I'm gonna need the assistant director. I'm gonna be busy.
Help me out here.
All right, somebody else call action. Right. I've had my eyes on this extra all day.
I think his hands were involved in his existence somehow. But he's not like prominent like King or Hitchcock or, where they forcefully insert themselves into their films. I can't really think of anything else I've seen him in besides Jason X, other than like when I think Nightbreed.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about Jason X. No. I really don't. I fuck no. So, but as
That's
far
him
as
doing a favor for somebody.
Seriously, it had to be. But
Hollywood. He was probably on some contract. And Hollywood said, all right, you owe us one more movie. You can either do Powerpuff Girls or Jason X. He's like,
at least I'm going to stay in genre. Fuck. Okay.
That cameo probably budgeted his next two
then
movies.
Again, he probably would have made an amazing Powerpuff Girls.
He could be the father. Oh, dude. Oh, come on.
Okay, there goes an idea. There goes a mashup.
Dude, that would be awesome. Oh, man. I think I need to text Hobbit about a Smack My Pitch Up idea. Fucking Powerpuff Girls, but with David Cronenberg. Anyway, but some films of note. I mean, I love most of the movies, but if I'm really going to narrow it down, we already talked about The Dead Zone, but I've got to talk about Dead Ringers is we keep saying it, but this movie is just fucking unsettling, man. You really feel dirty.
Yeah, if you want to see a creepy Alfred, and I mean Alfred in the Snyder cut,
Jeremy Irons is the main character. He plays twins, and they're both gynecologists, and they're both 180 from each other. But there's some things with I
remember there's a scene where at the beginning there are children, they're trying to talk about if they jizzed in a bathtub or something. Would you get pregnant? And I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching?
The movie is hardcore. I mean, and then the first film I saw after The Fly was Crash, and that's the movie that I watched where I was like, someone's like, hey, this is a Cronenberg film, Crash. I'm like, oh, Crash, like, because at the time the other movie had come out,
the Oscar
winning one,
yeah.
And I'm like, they're like, no. They're like, James Spader. I'm like, James Spader. And like, they show me a picture. They show me the cover, and I see his picture. I'm like, oh, was it Pretty in Pink? Was he in Pretty in Pink? No, 16 Candles.
Yeah.
He was the douchebag in 16 Candles. John, and I was like, oh, that guy. I know him. And
nope.
Okay. Oh, and then I was like, oh, yes, Casey Jones. Oh. Like, because Elias Koteas is in it too.
Oh, yeah.
So Crash is basically, again, it's sex oriented around adrenaline of car crashes, and also people that have been fucked up in car crashes and body what's the proper term? Not body damage, but being wounded, scarification from crashes. Like, they would be like rubbing it, and next you know they're fucking and rubbing it and licking. Yeah,
plus fucking.
It's like
it's just plus fucking.
It's so erotic to do with.
That just rolls right off your tongue.
Yeah,
plus fucking. Yeah,
plus fucking.
Yeah. Yeah, creamy Cronenberg's plus fucking. Yeah.
I can't title the episode that, Hunter. Okay, but it's just so erotic with with like scarification, and I mean, just I was not ready for that, but I thoroughly enjoy the movie. It's an amazing movie. I've rewatched it multiple times since. It was just that was kind of like a.
That is one of my favorite things, is the fact that it shares the same title of a movie that won a Best Picture Oscar. So there is potentially every year several people that are just curious and go, oh, Crash, and don't pay attention to the date and start watching it, and then are confused. How is puss fucking, a movie about puss fucking, winning Best Picture? Not knowing, no, you're watching the wrong movie. And I love the fact that probably has happened.
Cronenberg's Crash was 96. The Oscar one was what, 04?
03, 04.
Yeah. Yeah, and
but there's people that are watching the wrong Crash and going, how did this win Best Picture? Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for Brand Fraser to show up. This is not happening.
You keep waiting.
Yeah. You keep waiting, yeah.
While we're on the weird, sexual, creepy, uncomfortable feelings, like, I feel like we should mention Naked Lunch.
True. No, that definitely deserves being mentioned, because that was a feat.
Now, I've seen it, but I kind of want to ask if either of you know, what was that about?
Well, it's based off of William S. Burroughs' book, Naked Lunch. And
acid?
Well, a lot of William S. Burroughs will deal with addiction and heroin.
Yeah.
And I haven't personally read the book. I've kind of read synopsis, like a synopsis of it, but I do want to read it, because I have read Burroughs' Junkie, and that was a very depressing fucking book. But and I've read The Wild Boys by Burroughs, and that was a really good book too. So that Cronenberg's original vision to do a direct adaptation apparently would have cost like $40 million or $400 million or whatever in 91. I feel like 400 is probably a better number. Like, and it's like, no. So he had to do the best he can. That, like, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of stuff that just couldn't be filmed from that story. Mm-hmm. So he did the best he can with trying. To me, Naked Lunch, from what I remember of it, because I haven't rewatched it in a long time, is the most hardcore he's gone between really making you think about what's the reality and what's hallucination.
It's just uncomfortable. I mean, what I remember watching of it, it's kind of an uncomfortable, like, you're sitting through it. I don't know, and that's effective. That's what he's attending. But it's kind of the same way that movie Bug, where you can watch it and doing what it's supposed to, which is you're fucking itchy as shit while you're watching it for no reason at all, which is great.
Which I think was supposed to be
for replay,
a metaphor
kind of
for addiction, like just that there's always that itch, and like, but I don't know where the other context comes from because, like I said, I haven't read the book. I don't know what Cronenberg, how he adapted it
it's a weird
to make
one.
it, you know. And I don't know if I'm answering your question or not, but that's just my interpretation.
You know what?
of
I
it.
think that's a good interpretation. All I remember from that movie, because I haven't watched it in years, but what stands out for me today is I remember there was an alien and a really sexual typewriter.
Yes,
A typewriter that would convulse and was very feminine.
Yes.
But it was just a typewriter.
Yeah.
Like
No,
only
not
David
Cronenberg's
Cronenberg can
word.
do that.
That's
Cronenberg's wrote is not just a typewriter.
That is a perfect way to describe a Cronenberg movie, is a female sexualized typewriter.
Yeah.
And we all know, because we've watched enough Cronenberg movies, to go, oh yeah, yeah. But if you're not into Cronenberg, you're like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
But right there, we already have a picture in our head of exactly what you're talking about, because you watch enough Cronenberg movies. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How do you do that? I mean, I could see it with a doorknob. Or some other random, there are random things that you can sexualize. But how do you sexualize a typewriter? Only he can do that.
Cronenberg says, hold my beer.
I mean, how do you sexualize, how do you sexualize a VHS tape? You put a vagina in someone's stomach.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How do you like?
Again, all
he
these
and Giger should get together, have a baby, and who knows what that would be.
If that, it's sad that never happened.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's so sad that never happened. I don't know why that never happened at all. I don't get it. I don't get it. I feel like those two creative brains would have made the ultimate powerhouse of just fucking dark, twisted sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
So we'll never get it. We'll never get it. That's what it is. But
we can only dream.
We can, that's literally
We can only nightmare.
We can only nightmare. But so all right, we're gonna start wrapping it. We're gonna wrap it up on the Cronenberg side of this episode, but that does not mean we're done. We got a little treat for you, but first we got to talk about our sponsors. That's right. First off, we got Amazon.com. Go to GUIPodcast.com and click on the links tab. It is the first link on the page. Click on it and just shop through Amazon like normal. Costs you nothing more. Gives us a little kickback. Buy some podcast stuff. Trying to do some upgrades. You know.
And I mean, we gave you plenty of stuff. If you don't
all these
own
movies
it,
are either. All right, now I would say all the movies we talked about are either. Or all for sale on Amazon, but if you do have Prime, there are some that are streaming through Prime. Some are streaming on Tubi. I do want to be fair. There are a lot of his movies right now you can go watch for free, and if you love it, I encourage you to then buy it.
yeah, and there's some that have special, editions that it's worth the extra to get those.
Yeah, like I just bought the Arrow video version of Shivers with a bunch of behind the scenes stuff in it, which is young baby Cronenberg, which is really right. It's just like. See him through the ages of interviews is crazy. Anyway, so yeah, we greatly appreciate that little kickback from you shopping through our link on Amazon.com. And then the second one would be TeePublic. That is the link directly next to the Amazon link on our links tab. And that's where all the merch is for all the shows under the network. Every show has multiple designs. I think we're up to 41-ish around there. There's a fuckload. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
we don't need to have that many designs, but we do.
But yeah, but there's designs for everybody.
There's designs for everybody. And while you're on the website as well, GUIPodcast.com, check out all the other shows under the network. We've got something for everybody, literally. Any need nerddom, geekdom, facet of that, we've got a show for you to check out. So please check out some other shows under the network. And now it is time for...
Stump the Host.
All right, so Stump the Host is a rapid-fire trivia segment where we ask the guests to bring a series of questions to Stump Hunter and I. And whoever wins gets to have some bragging rights, some swinging dick, and all that stuff. Yeah. Hunter is currently 2 ahead.
Yes, I am. See, I'm trying to be good. I'm not talking shit because I was at one point 4 ahead, and now I've got on kind of a losing streak. So, I'm not going to say shit.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I learned my lesson 2 episodes ago. God
That's
damn
right.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I've always had fun with the two of you on these trivia questions. I've stumped the both of you a few times.
Oh, yeah.
I've been very, very proud.
Mm-hmm.
This one was tough for me, though, because I found that when I watch Cronenberg movies, it's the trivia for me doesn't flow the way Bruce Campbell trivia does, because Bruce Campbell stuff is really easy. It's right there ready. So I really had to dig for these. So some of these are really easy. I already heard you say the answer to one of them. So I know you guys know some of these. And then there was one that I didn't know. So I'm going to go ahead and...
you get to decide who goes
get
first.
started with these. Okay. Let's start with Hunter.
All right.
Seeing as how I already know you know the answer to this, because you said now let's find out if you were paying attention.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
All right, number 1. This should be easy though. All right. What role did David Cronenberg play in The Fly?
Oh, the goddamn fucking gynecologist.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard you
I was
say
trying
it
to
earlier.
remember
on, man.
what medical field was that. I see him in a coat.
Hit a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that was an easy one. Here's another easy one. All right. In Nightbreed, David Cronenberg plays the character Dr. Philip Decker. So this is 2 questions, actually. First one, I guess this will go to you. How is Dr. Decker killed?
Oh, he's crucified, basically, and then they put Baphomet essentially into him. Isn't that how that works? Because at the end of the scene, they show him wake up, but he's been killed, but he's been crucified.
You jumped into the second one. That's not how he dies.
Oh.
Do you know how he was killed, Hunter?
God, fuck. That's what I thought. I'm puzzled right now.
Oh, yeah. He stabs Cabal.
Right.
Cabal spins around and
and
hugs him into
yeah.
him, shoves the knife through him.
That's
I guess that's how his death kind of.
That's how he
That's the
died.
death.
God
And
damn
what
it.
you said is the next question: how is he brought back to life?
Okay.
So I could have said hug death. God damn it.
Hug death, hug knife death is
So
how he's killed.
We just count that as 1 and 1, I guess, because I got
Yeah.
the second part right.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So who does that? So that was mine. So then it goes. I guess it
Yeah.
goes to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Oh, no problem.
Da-da-da.
Okay. Yeah, this were a real challenge. Okay. All right. Let me see. I'm gonna take a quick second to see which one of these I should read. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm just gonna go. I know you hate this movie, so it's probably good that it's gonna come to you because I heard you say this too. David Cronenberg portrays a character that demands this iconic horror movie villain be thought out and studied. This villain immediately impales him after thawing. Who is the villain?
Oh, the in my opinion, good guy is Jason Voorhees.
You are correct.
Yes.
Stop.
And a little feature called Jason X.
Stop.
Yeah.
Fucking
And
terrible.
you know what? It hurt me having to bring that up, but it was an easy one.
Oh, yeah,
and I
no, I
needed
get
something easy.
I get it.
But
I do.
I made the mistake of seeing that in the theater.
Ooh.
And I walked out like,
Yeah.
now I hate that song "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor." Okay.
That is right. That was on that.
They advertise. No, I don't. Okay, let's drop it and let's
Yeah.
move on to the next one.
Next one.
Okay, the last one I've got, and this is the one that I didn't know.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'll lead into this one. David Cronenberg's been asked to do a lot of movies, and he turns a lot of them down. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and right now I'm only talking about directorial stuff. Which directorial job did David Cronenberg not turn down?
Which directorial job did he not turn down?
Yes.
You mean as far as films?
Yeah.
That he
And this is going to be a multiple choice.
Okay.
But which one did he not turn down?
Okay.
That he actually wanted to do, but didn't.
Okay.
But he didn't get to.
Okay.
All right. Top Gun, Total Recall.
Total Recall. Total Recall. He was ready to film that shit.
Yeah,
It's fucking Total Recall.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
I wasn't even gonna let it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. But I was like, it's
no
fucking
problem.
Total Recall. I was waiting to hear it.
I didn't want to make it third because everybody knows C is usually the right answer. I was going to say RoboCop's Star Wars is. I had no idea he was offered Return of the Jedi, so I thought that was a good one. But
RoboCop made sense.
Yeah.
Like a Cronenberg RoboCop
Yeah.
and Total
I can
Recall would
totally
be
see
amazing.
it.
I could see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But he had scripts written for Total Recall.
Yes, he did.
And then but it was going a completely different way. But he loved Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
That was a huge influence on him later on in life. And the fact that I think he was following more true to form versus as much as I love Schwarzenegger's Total Recall, is definitely hokey compared to the book.
Yeah. Okay, watching Arnold Schwarzenegger's eyes bug out on the surface of Mars is that was just special.
Oh, that was.
But yeah.
So we're tied.
Okay, yeah.
Do you want to do a hard trivia tiebreaker real quick?
Probably a good idea. I was struggling with Cronenberg stuff. I was like, what color are his eyes? Yeah, just all right. Let's see.
Randomly picked one. So okay, how are we doing this? Whoever screams it out first, or how we do this? You choose.
Yeah, how do you?
Oh, okay. So I see answers on the back here.
Yeah.
Okay, let me hold this like this.
So I guess how do we want to determine?
I remember the first time on the Bubba Hotep, like we did the shout, and I managed to squeak out the butthole.
Yeah, I guess we'll do the shout out again.
Yeah.
That's always worked in your favor, but
Whatever.
Let's see.
Sorry, you're slow, old man. That's fine.
who said that?
Okay. All right, this one's all right. How did young Jason Voorhees meet his demise in Camp Crystal Lake?
He
Drown.
Yes. You were a fraction. That was too easy. Can I choose a different one?
Yeah, I was gonna
That was
say.
too easy. That's the thing about the
I
horror
say drown.
trivia.
He said he drowned. I'm like,
I said he before you said drown, though.
whatever.
I'm just saying. But no, it's too easy. It's too
Yeah.
easy.
What movie stars professional wrestler Roddy Piper as a drifter who discovers a box of special sunglasses?
They live.
No, we're not. Yeah,
Was that a
that's
Do
as
we
much
want
of
to
a
just call this? I don't know what we're gonna
soon. You know what?
Hold on.
It's near impossible. As soon as he said professional wrestler and a drifter,
Piper,
and
like,
we
come
were
on, man.
both just sitting there waiting for you to
Salivating.
get to that
I
last.
should have done a stare down.
question.
We need to
Yeah.
like film some of this shit. We're just like,
Yeah. What 2014 movie involves a story of two siblings battling a supernatural mirror?
Oculus.
There you go.
You got it.
That broke it.
Damn,
I
nice.
said ooh because it was.
it's
That
not a
one
good
was-
movie.
was-
More, yeah.
It was okay. No, the reason I like it is because
No, I'm thinking of the sequel. I think I liked the first one. I didn't like the sequel, or was it, I can't remember which one I liked. I've only watched them both once.
Well, the good
Wait, I
director
didn't- I
did the
didn't know
first
there was a
one,
sequel.
and a shitty director did the
All right,
second
so
one.
the
So,
first
yeah.
one. It's the first one.
The first one was good. It had Amy Pond from Doctor Who, and
Oh,
she went on to
yeah.
do the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
So I liked it for her.
I've been following her career.
All right.
I know her quite
yes.
well.
You gained one back, Hunter. You are
That's
now
right.
up by 3. We will post the updated scores shortly after the release of this, so you
This
know
was
where we're at.
goddamn like a Rocky Apollo Creed back and forth.
I wish
man.
I fucking won though, because that Total Recall was a fucking cut, man. Damn it. I feel like it was a waste of my knowledge. But no,
I didn't know
much.
that.
Thank you so much for being on.
Thank
Greatly
you so
appreciate
much.
you have. I mean, they were great questions, especially that last one. Like, I was like, wow, okay. I didn't think that was going to get asked, but like, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I have so much fun every time I come here. This is such a great break from my day job and my regular stuff. I finally get to come out here and dork about horror movies, sci-fi, and all this weird touch you Cronenberg stuff.
Yeah, that's seriously. He's like, it's almost like Uncle Touchy's basement, but not quite. You know what I mean?
It's like the kind of touch that you know is going to happen, and you're
letting
wanna
it happen.
See, you want
You're letting
to
it
let it happen to see if you can take it. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
that's
That's it. Anyway, so thanks everyone for listening. Hit us up at lowdownbrown.gmail.com. Let us know what you think about Cronenberg films, what you've seen, what you haven't seen, what you've seen after you listen to this episode, and we steered you towards movies that you now are like, oh, okay, I didn't know about that. I'm gonna go check them out. And we want to hear feedback. We just want the feedback, and until we talk to you again, stay safe.
Join us at GUIPodcast.com.
Hey guys, Scotty Big Daddy Preston here, that's right, the Geek Father, asking you to join me here every other week with friends and family of the GUI Network as we go through all the trials and tribulations of being a geeky parent. So remember, join us or cry.
In a world ravaged by movie studios that keep rehashing the same things, only one podcaster has the guts to make it even worse. Join Mike the Hobbit as he traverses the internet to bring you some of the best and worst ideas for reboots, remakes, and reimaginings of some of your favorite and least favorite TV and film properties. Ideas like a John Waters He-Man movie, Fantastic Four the musical, and Aliens, done entirely with marionettes. What podcast would bring this evil upon the world? This is Smack My Pitch Up, available anywhere you get your podcasts.
My name is Amy Bogard.
And I'm Mike the Hobbit.
And we are the hosts of Deeply Upsetting, where we use our expertise to answer your most upsetting hypothetical quandaries, such as what non-winged animal deserves wings?
And what body part deserves a secret mouth?
Which cryptid is the worst roommate?
These questions and more that plague you will be answered on Deeply Upsetting, available anywhere you get your podcasts and at GUIpodcast.com.